This is the oldest part of yourself. The second brain is the mammalian brain. These are the emotional centers of ourselves. This is what gives us our emotions, our feelings. And then there's the third brain, which is the front cortex. This is our thinking brain. So this is what we think with, what we make decisions with, what we make abstractions, mathematics, all the things that makes human, music, all the artistic things that we can do because we are human. But then there's another level, which is the fourth brain, which I haven't shared about yet. Now the fourth brain is very, very special. It can give you, if you learn how to tap into it, it can give you power, you can say. So from the beginning of history, from when time began, all civilizations, all peoples, they all believed in something greater than themselves. So they all believed that there was a power beyond what they can see, that the world around them wasn't as simple as what their eyes show you. Now, I also shared in a previous video that every single human being is technically blind. Our eyes can only see what light reflects. So if light reflects off of something, that we can see it. But we don't see everything else that goes on. We don't see all the sound. We can hear it, but we don't see it. We don't see all the rays. We don't see all the frequencies. We don't see all the Wi-Fi, all the connections that we have from all the devices. But that doesn't mean that it's not there. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not real. But what you can do is you can feel it. So, for example, if you see a tornado go by, so there's wind. There's a tree flies by, a car, a cow, a house, whatever. What you see isn't the wind. What you see is the effects that the wind makes. You see the result. And it's the same thing in the spiritual realm, the spiritual world. You can't see things of the spirit, but you can feel them. You can see their effects. So I've been in many, many dark places before in my life. And some of those dark places, very, very, very difficult to escape. One of the worst days of my life was when I was about 25. So when I was 24, I was addicted to Oxycontin and they stopped making it. And then heroin came out and that was readily available, so I started using it. But after like 6 months, my lungs collapsed. So I remember walking down the street and I couldn't breathe anymore. I was suffocating. My lungs they stopped working. So I went to the hospital and the doctor looked at me. He's like, "You're dead. I don't know how you're still alive." But I did survive. But then I couldn't smoke heroin anymore, so I started shooting up. And after about 5-6 months of that, I was in such bad shape, I couldn't even find a vein to shoot into. I remember getting really, really sick one day. I had a lot of pain in my stomach. And then after like 2-3 days, I couldn't just handle it anymore. I showed up to the hospital. There was a big line. I was like, screw this, I'm not waiting. I just yelled and collapsed. They took me in really fast. And when the doctor examined me, he's like, "Your gallbladder is so inflamed that we couldn't even do surgery on you if we wanted to. You're going to die today." And they left me in a room to die as soon as they found out I had no insurance. They're like, just left me in a room, put me full of morphine and left me there. And I remember laying there thinking, today's my last day. Today's the last day I'm going to live. And a nurse came in after the doctor, and she's like, "No, you're not going to die." And she prayed for me. She prayed to God that I would be healed. And after she left, I started getting better. I did live, obviously. I'm still here. But I've had circumstances similar to this. Another event. I was walking down the street in the middle of the night, and a car came out of nowhere, and it was going to hit me, and I felt a hand like come up on my back, and it just shoved me, pushed me out of the way. I flew far, I did a roll, and then I looked up, and I saw like black Lexus. It was dark, but there was a headlight, so it stopped, and a little Asian head popped up and looked at me. And the car just kept on driving as soon as it saw it was okay. But I felt a hand literally shove me out of the way. So there's clearly things that are going on that you cannot see. Things of the spiritual realm. Now, if you learn how to tap into this realm, like I said, you have 4 brains. You have the first, second, third, and fourth. Now, the fourth brain, there was a doctor. He did an autopsy on these monks. who died in a monastery. Now they lived their life like in a solitary confinement, but in solitude, but they were spiritually, spiritually active. And he also did an autopsies on people who were like priests or nuns, or it didn't matter which religion. What he found was very, very similar, that their higher centers of the brain, like the pineal gland and whatnot, was very, very, very developed. And as opposed to when he looked at a person who didn't believe in anything at all, those parts of themselves were not developed at all. There was like nothing there. So what I'm trying to say is, if you learn how to have like a spiritual practice, like I've studied all religions, and I've kind of got stuck between East and West. I'm a Christian person. This is what I believe in. But I have respect for other religions. I have respect for traditions of the East. How do you clear your mind? How do you sell yourself? I do yoga and meditation, and I pray a lot. I read the Bible. I go to church, and I do things that, I do a lot of community service, a lot of work. I do things that help other people. So I have a spiritual life that gives me power. So when I'm at the bottom, I shared earlier that your life is physical, mental, spiritual, financial, and social. And if you're lacking in one of these areas, just one, you're pretty much screwed. Now, the most important of these areas is spiritual, because when you die, you don't take anything that you have with you. So I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how nice your house is, or even how healthy you are, or how nice your family, or how many friends. You don't take any of that with you when you die. Only thing you take with you is who you become. It means the condition of your spirit, the state that you have obtained. Now, the spirit can be very, very weak, or the spirit can be very, very strong. And that spirit affects the world around you. It says, as above, so below. And it also says that what you bind in heaven, you loose in heaven. And what you bind on earth, you loose on earth. So that means that the realms are connected. The spiritual and the physical are connected. They bleed into each other, you can say. So having a spiritual practice is very, very important. At the end of the day, you have to believe in something. Because even if you're like the hardcore atheist, maybe you've never... I believe everybody becomes spiritual. Everybody becomes religious right before they die. And I've had many, many experiences before where I should have died. Where I looked death right in the eye, and I have no idea how I'm still alive. So clearly there's something above who's looking out for me. I'll finish with this conclusion. I wrote a poem a long, long time ago. I think I was in high school, or I was like 20. After that, I was like 20, 21 years old. But I wrote many, many poems. But this is one that stuck with me. So here it goes. A heart of stone cannot shed a tear, and a heart that is softer than a pillow has too much faith to waste a second of its life living in fear. That's why we must steer our lives into the Lord's direction. We were created in His image, but when you look in the mirror, do you see His reflection, or do you just feel the devil's tormention? That's why we must rejoice in the Spirit, so that Satan and all his legions of demons can hear it. The truth is, they have already been defeated, but they're just stupid and conceited, and they do not want to believe it. A person's strength always comes from the faith which is buried within, and the one who does not submit to the temptations of sin will begin to look at life through a spiritual perspective, through a heavenly perspective. What is the rest of it? I don't want to remember it. Anyway.